Evil Monk Story Part 3. After the final battle, and well, when Evil Monk perished from his own disease, good survivor having been devastated, he didn't know why, but he still deep inside him cared for his little brother. Oh, the good in his heart, too forgiving for this world. So holding him close as he watched him fade away, he grieved for a moment, just for a moment, as he was snapped back into his thoughts. There Gormand was, helping him back to his feet. Gormand ushered good survivor on, as they still have yet to free everyone. That sparked remembrance to survivor, back when he had pleaded Evil Monk to bring back their family, and how Monk dismissively did so, of course trapping them away with all the other trapped slugcats. Good survivor was back on his feet, desperate to see if they were okay. When he reached there, it seems they've already been freed by the group, since the cage was open and empty. But there was no one there waiting. Survivor was worried, very worried. He asked Rivulet if they had seen them as they were around the area at that time. Oh, so that was the family that booked it out here the second I opened the cage, Rivulet responded. Survivor was shocked. Their family had abandoned the place without a word. Good survivor felt they understood now why Evil Monk hated being tossed aside. It hurt. But like Gormand had said before, now was not the time to grieve when the world needed his help. Many years had passed. Survivor spent his days fixing the ecosystem and mending the cycles. Suddenly the others were unable to be brought back to their own timelines. The past and future broken. Now this timeline was the only present. The group, however, was already used to staying together, so they didn't part ways. The group had helped all trapped slugcats too, and with everyone they headed to a place Survivor knew could keep the colony safe. The sacred tree is where they made home. With the restored colony, the group established Survivor as their leader, and even came up with a naming system. The naming system was based off how due to the fact that they always would call Monk, Evil Monk, and how they called Survivor, Good Survivor. Of course, the naming system never was used much, as it was mainly just a title. They all called Monk Evil Monk, however. The title names were Gormand was now, Helpful Gormand, and Inv was now, Caring Inv. Artificer was now, Careless Artificer, and Rivulet was now, Chaotic Rivulet. Spearmaster was now, Fearful Spearmaster, and Watcher aka used to be Nightcat was now, Brave Watcher. As for Saint and Hunter, they were just known as the Spirit Sower, Spirit Saint and Spirit Hunter. Pups don't get their title personality names till they're adults. But it's not like there are many pups left. Many pups had died during the entrapment era, but the survivors are being aided to grow up strong. Even though the world was a better place now, Survivor wasn't dealing with the grief too well. He was a depressed mess, exhausted and tired all the time. He grew quiet and stagnant. Good Survivor never even rid of Monk's corpse. An unhealthy coping mechanism was it. He held onto his brother's corpse, hoping maybe, just maybe, would he see it lively once more. He mourned daily. The colony was worried for his well-being. However, Good Survivor wasn't the only one who was worried for Evil Monk. Back when Evil Monk was terrorizing the many dimensions, he had made a friend or two. That being Hivemind, the two being quite evil, made a perfect duo. Evil Monk had told Hivemind not to come to their dimension since he didn't at that time like others in his world. However, when Evil Monk bid his last goodbye, he promised he'd come back later. And now it's been days. Hivemind worried where her friend had gone, so she set out to find his dimension. Now, it wasn't just Hivemind. There was another being in a different universe named Catalyst. He and Evil Monk were closely bonded to each other. You could even say they loved one another. It's a surprise. Evil Monk's cold heart could be softened. Or maybe it was him finally getting affection is what made him fall head over heels. But besides that, Evil Monk had left saying he would come back. And Catalyst was worried sick, waiting all day for something that won't return. Eventually he had to move on to other important matters, like getting back to his home. Catalyst was actually a trapped being. Their true home was the real world. And so Catalyst left. Now back with Hivemind. She made her way through the dimensions till eventually she found it. Desperate searches, but at last she was there. She confronted the first person she saw. Good Survivor. "Where is Monk?" she demanded. Good Survivor turned his head over, glancing down. "Did you know my brother?" Hivemind just nodded and kept pestering. However, she stopped, seeing how dejected Survivor looked. Finally, Survivor could get his words out. In a staggering tone he said, "He's dead, and it's my fault." Hivemind was shocked and hurt. Her only friend, a very close friend, gone. Just like her family. She wanted to burst out in anger and take revenge. But she didn't. She sat beside Good Survivor and mourned with him. She'd place a hand against Survivor's back. Something that had comforted Hivemind once when Monk had comforted her loss of her family. The two mourned for a while. Finally, after a bit, the two were back to their senses. There was no hatred for Hivemind. She understood Survivor's grief. She lended a helping hand as Survivor was struggling to do leader work. Hivemind knew well on how to train, so she offered her assistance. And train she did. She trained up the others well so that they'll be able to defend themselves from any danger. Good Survivor was greatly appreciative of her help. He even felt a bit better. Hivemind got ready to leave through their portal. However, the two promised to always exchange words with one another for important matters. Things were getting better. At least, only slightly. Now, I'm sure everyone's wondering, what happened to Monk? He died, yes, but where did he go after? Rubicon is where Evil Monk found himself at, and there was someone waiting for him there. A being he once worked with but got betrayed, now shown to be a ruler of this domain. Rubicon Insurgent was here to punish Monk for all his misdeeds. Evil Monk was beaten and torn apart again and again. All whilst time ticked along, the chances of him fading away due to being in Rubicon becoming closer and closer. He pleaded and begged to be freed, but he was denied. Evil Monk himself wasn't exactly sure what happened. But one fortunate day for him, Rubicon Insurgent let him free. He wasn't told why there was a sudden change of heart, but he wasted no time in leaving. Warned to never cause trouble again. As long as he followed those rules, he'd be left unharmed. But who is he to listen? After getting out of Rubicon, finally, he found himself at the Tree of all places. Worse of all, he was a ghost. He couldn't do crap anymore. Evil Monk floated around, finding himself inside the tree. There he saw Good Survivor. There he saw how broken he was. He was surprised. He's never seen his brother that broken, even to the fact he was staring at his own rotting corpse. "Dear God, brother, how broken have you become?" Evil Monk uttered. It took not a second before Good Survivor awoke from their sleep, staring at their ghost brother. Emotions from the fact Evil Monk had died and the fact that their family practically abandoned them. This was the greatest relief to Survivor, to see his brother's soul was not gone. "Brother, you're alive," Good Survivor said in a relieved voice. Evil Monk, instead of just being snarky, simply replied, "Yeah." Evil Monk's ghostly arrival was a surprise to many. Some were skeptical, whilst others found Monk's new weakened form to be laughable. But at least Good Survivor's well-being has improved. Being able to have his brother's company back was better than nothing. Finally was Evil Monk's corpse put to rest and buried properly. However, there was still an issue that Evil Monk came to learn: Survivor's problem with work. Survivor was a workaholic. Now yes, he's been helped with fixing the world. However, unlike others, he never took a break. All that work was not healthy for a good survivor. Evil Monk could tell his brother was putting far too much weight on his back, so he decided to do something about it. Evil Monk, having been going through his own internal struggle of defeat and loss, has no desire for others to be suffering as much as he is. He thought of how Good Survivor could finally catch a break from his work. That's when an idea clicks. Evil Monk, using his best teaching abilities, tried to get Good Survivor to understand the basics of making portals. Though Good Survivor has exceptional powers, just couldn't seem to grasp on the idea. It was a hassle, but in the end Survivor made a portal. Evil Monk had warned to be careful, to search for a peaceful place, as dimension traveling is no easy task, as the dimensional rifts are ever moving. Good Survivor, however, took all the risks. However, things got messy, and he found himself completely lost. Evil Monk wasn't able to go after him, so Survivor was alone. He could only hope he didn't end up anywhere dangerous. Good Survivor found himself in a strange dimension. However, after saving a group of slug cats from gigantic creatures who lived in this dimension, that is where he met Mimic, the one in control of all the slug cats there. Surprisingly, the two got along well. Survivor's kindness softened Mimic, similar to how Catalyst softened Evil Monk's heart. The two grew closely bonded as they spent time with one another. Unlike Good Survivor, who was mortal with powerful abilities, Mimic was a full-on god. Mimic was able to help Survivor home. The first to be greeted was Monk, who was quite shocked, not only due to Mimic's menacing appearance, but the fact his older brother managed to find love during his absence. One way or another, the plan had ended up being a success, as Survivor's well-being was improving with having Mimic by his side to take care of him. Evil Monk was a bit bitter about Survivor's happiness with his lover, but little did he know he was soon to have a visitor himself. One fateful day, as Evil Monk questioned his life as a ghost, he was greeted by another ghost. It was his long-lost lover, Catalyst. He was flabbergasted. How could it be? "Is that you?" Evil Monk questioned as he stared at Catalyst. Against all odds, the two found each other once more. It's a surprise having Catalyst back. After all, it's been forever, and now, all of a sudden, he's shown back up as a ghost. When questioned, Catalyst offered the best explanation he could give. To put it simple, Catalyst had returned to the real world. However, things weren't the same as it had been. Life wasn't great. He struggled getting along with people, as they only grew to dislike him. He ended up picking a fight with the wrong person and died. However, his soul was still tied to Rainworld. So, instead of finding himself in the afterlife, he was back in Rainworld. Evil Monk didn't question, though. Having company of his companion again was a nice breather from all his self-loathing. After the reunion, the world seemed to be at a steady pace. Everything was calm. Good Survivor and Mimic got married, both getting necklaces to show proof of their Thai marriage. The necklaces were a tradition done by Mimic and the gods of his family tree, so it was simply passed on. Then, after with power bending of Mimic's god powers, Mimic was able to detach DNA from him and Survivor to blend together and create their child named Penumbra. When this was told, it got the attention of Catalyst, who also wanted to have a family of their own. Evil Monk wasn't sure of the idea. However, Catalyst's persuasion had him asking if Mimic could do the same for them. Mimic could, in fact, but since both are souls, the process is different. With the combination of mixing both of their souls together, it created their child. Ironic enough, name Soul. Everything was fine, going dandy even. This was too good to be true. Evil Monk had a feeling of unease. Something bad was coming. Something that sent a shiver down his spine. He tried to ignore it, but that's when the nightmares began. Nightmares of his past, coming again once more to remind him. All the crap he did retold to him once more, reminded that he could have, and was not always like this. The nightmares only grew worse as this being. He wasn't sure who played with his mind, taunting him for the monster he is. These nightmares are relentless, though Evil Monk wasn't the only one sensing this danger. Good Survivor also could slightly sense it too, though not as overwhelming as Monk's. He could merely sense it with Saint's powers. However, he didn't get those nightmares as Monk did. Either way, Survivor didn't like it either. He began to train and ready himself for what impending doom there was coming. Evil Monk sometimes took peeks to these trainings, overhearing the conversation Survivor has with the spirits. "Survivor, are you sure about this? Your powers are unstable," Saint said with mild worrying. "You know your body would be able to handle if you try or exceed its limit," Saint stated. "Yeah, it'll literally explode and you'll be dead as hell." Hunter added, much to Saint's displeasure. "Hunter speaks the truth. If you try to go further than what you're planning, you won't survive it," Saint retold for Survivor. Whilst Good Survivor was getting a huge lecture, Monk overheard everything. "Guess I'll have to keep things in watch," Evil Monk uttered quietly to himself as he went off to plan what to do. Soon enough the time arrived. She was here. Luckily, the others had some time to train thanks to Good Survivor. The others didn't know who she was or why she was here. But Evil Monk had gotten a grasp on who she was from the nightmares. She was their creator, and she was here to kill them all. She called herself Bruna. She taunted each one of them, telling her desires to them all on how she wished them dead, how she was here to exterminate them all. Having grown bored of this story, she set into place. None of them were pleased to hear this. None of them wanted to be wiped from existence. Good Survivor was ready, as he got his powers up and running in his blood. He spared his little brother one glance, those eyes. Survivor knew Evil Monk had something planned, and he wasn't sure he'd like it. But now wasn't the time to question. It was the time to fight. Good Survivor now ready overcharges his abilities, causing his body to change rapidly due to the new power flowing through his blood. Bruna still kept her taunts, even whilst the fight began. It was a brutal battle, each group getting injured. Bruna took a few hits, and was starting to grow pissed. It seems she's about done with this fight. Everyone was weakened. They all needed rest. Good Survivor was contemplating if he should excess past his power limit. He knew the consequences, but he doesn't know what other option there could be. Evil Monk noticed his older brother. His plans. He couldn't let that happen. He wasn't going to let this world perish. "Brother, I have a plan." Evil Monk snapped Good Survivor out of his thoughts. Monk's plan was to gather everyone. Using his expertise in making portals, he'll get them to safety out the dimension. 'Cause during Bruna's taunts, she had noted before, she had locked the dimension down so no one could save them. However, she simply locked from the outside, meaning the ones trapped could still escape, as one can't enter but one can exit. So, using this to his advantage, Evil Monk herded everyone out. Good Survivor was last, having believed the two would fight alongside together to try and take on Bruna. Evil Monk had lied though. He knew his older brother was far too weak to push his powers any further. So, without warning, Evil Monk shoved the portal through Good Survivor, leaving him to face off Bruna alone. On the other side, Good Survivor cried out, clawing at the portal that was closing. "Brother, no," he cried. The others knew it was too late. They couldn't stop what was to happen now. Back with Evil Monk, he was facing off against Bruna. Bruna found this hilarious, as she didn't think a simple ghost could do anything to stop her. Evil Monk had an idea up his sleeve. There was a thing called the mind space. Since ghosts can't interact with the physical realm, That doesn't mean he can't enter through there, as the mind space isn't physically real. Due to the fact ghosts have an easier time accessing one's mind, this shouldn't be so hard to do for him. With entering the mind space, whatever damage that can be done mentally there is transferred to the physical realm. The risky part, however, is the fact this is Bruna's mind space, meaning she has an advantage on her hands. That didn't stop Evil Monk, however. No risks have ever stopped him before and definitely not now. And so Monk lunged forward at Bruna, catching her off guard. He made his way out the physical world and into her mind space. There's a certain thing special about mind spaces, the records of life. The records of life are string-like things that contain the past and future of a person. They're extremely fragile, and if damaged it can affect the entire thing. Evil Monk had learned this. He knew what he was getting himself into. But he had to give it a shot. In the mind space, Bruna laughed at Monk. She found the risks Evil Monk is taking to be hilarious. Monk wasn't laughing, though. He was serious. The fight began, the two fighting roughly, pulling each other's strings. They both were trying to damage each other's records of life, neither of them playing fair. Bruna, however, got an idea. She pushed Evil Monk back straight into his own records of life. Evil Monk panicked, his sanity going haywire. He had to get out before he caused damage or went insane. He started slashing his way through, trying to find an exit. That is until he slashed the wrong thing, himself. He freaked out. He's just screwed everything up. He's damaged his own records of life. He can already feel the pain stirring in his body as the strings slowly become more damaged. He felt himself slipping out stability as he fell further into his shattered records, watching as he fell down into his own nightmares. He falls through past dated records, glimpsing at the past, as he's reminded once more of the monster he was and is. All those memories he kept burrowed and hidden now all forced back into him once more. When he finally fell down somewhere in his records there he could see his brother not too far. After being thrown around and trampled by his memories, he wanted nothing more but to plead for forgiveness. He begged to be forgiven, but it was not reciprocated. His brother only charged up his power and blasted straight into his face. As the blast, though feeling real, was not real, because nothing is real in this hellhole here. It certainly felt real to Monk. He felt his heart shatter as he faced reality that he could never be redeemed. He could never make up for all his mistakes, no matter how hard he may try. The wake-up call hit him like a truck as his heart filled with rage. Not only 'cause he hated who he was, he felt his heart shimmer with rage for Bruna as well. If he can do one thing right in his damn life, it would be putting an end to Bruna. All his rage began pouring out as his body started acting on its own, skin peeling as he became a faintish red. Bruna was confused at how Evil Monk was moving at all. After all, his soul is still trapped in his own records. However, that wouldn't last long, as Evil Monk, with luck with being thrown around in his records, got thrown straight back out into his body. His body already seeping with its own rage combined with Monk's enraged soul for vengeance, became a monster like no other. He attacked with quick fury, looming even bigger than he was before. Bruna knew she screwed up. She tried to get away, but it was simply too late as Monk grabbed hold of her records and tore them apart. He watched as she slowly withered away from existence, the mind space dissolving away as Bruna faded. Evil Monk felt victorious. However, he couldn't stay up for long as he slumped down. He was still dying 'cause his records are still damaged. He wanted rest now. Back with Good, Survivor, and the others, Survivor was still panicking. He did everything in his powers to get back in. And he finally did manage, since Bruna's lock on the dimension went with her when she perished. He and the others immediately went through to see what happened, and they weren't exactly alone either. Some other beings, having heard of the situation, have been trying to access as well. Some being Catalyst and their child soul, Hivemind as well, and Mimic too. They all find evil monk laid on the ground, fading away slowly. Survivor cried out in fear as he begged someone to help his brother. But only a god could save monk now. And that god was Mimic. Being a god and closely paired with good Survivor would not let them suffer such a loss. Using his powers he mended evil monk back into shape, fixing his records as well. This mending also included reviving monk from being a ghost. And just like that, evil monk was back and alive once more, though he now retained permanent red markings from his enraged form. All that mattered is that he survived. Though some will never understand why others wanted monk to live, it's just simply how it goes. Things were steady once more. Survivor, as well as Hivemind and Catalyst, were relieved to see evil monk okay now. Evil monk lives once more. With that he did have some requests. He wished for a Catalyst and their child soul to be alive with him, which Mimic could do for him. That certainly pleased monk to finally live with his family, beyond being a mere ghost. Everything was back to normal, well, at least somewhat. Evil monk still is always and will always be evil. Can't get any more normal than that. But there's something missing. Let's rewind a bit.
I'm worried. He has not responded in a long time now.
I know, but I'm not sure what else we can do to help him.
I know. Last attempt only made you in trouble too. I keep messing things up.
It's not your fault. He's just not doing well. That's all. Look, I know this is tough. You just want to help him. But I think you should take a break. Calm yourself a bit.
Thanks.
No problem.
What the? Guys? Guys? Oh, God.